This week I am very excited to be joined by one Belinda Carlisle. Hello Belinda,
Hi.
welcome to the show. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Good. Right, we're going to start right at the very beginning. Talk a little bit about your childhood. How was it? Was it good, bad,
Well, I was
indifferent?
oldest of seven, actually. Born in Southern California, grew up in Southern California in the 60s and 70s during the Beach Boys and, you know, the California dream. And it was an amazing childhood, lower middle class family, baseball, apple pie, cheerleading, all that stuff. So
Cheerleading?
Pretty typical, dysfunctional.
Right.
But,
in what way dysfunctional?
Well, my father left when I was 5. My stepfather was an alcoholic and lived with all that. So typically a dysfunctional family, but you know, generally it was a really good childhood.
So you were a cheerleader when you were a child,
Yes,
and then you
I
kind of migrated to LA onto the LA punk scene.
Mm-hmm.
How does a cheerleader become a punk?
Well, you know something, I always like to say it's Iggy Pop changed my life.
Right.
And when I was 16 or 17, I went into a record store, saw the cover of Raw Power, and I thought, who is that? And I bought the album, and it turned me on to a whole genre of music that I loved. And then I started listening to the Velvet Underground and of course the Sex Pistols and the whole English punk scene, you know, started. And I used to buy Enemy and Melody Maker and all the music magazines when
Right.
they came out every week. And that's how I went from cheerleader to punk rocker.
All Iggy
actually.
Pop's fault,
it's
right?
Iggy's fault, exactly.
So when did you first come here then? Was that a lot later after that?
No, actually, the first time I came to London as in my late teens to go see all the like Sham 69 and the Buzzcocks and all the punk bands. Actually, that's why I came to London. But as my first big trip was with the Go-Go's when we were opening up for a lot of the two-tone bands,
Right.
like Madness and the Specials, and we lived in a huge house in Belsize Park, and it was
fantastic.
full of girls, some of the Belle Stars, some models from LA, and it was the American Girls pad, actually.
I bet that was a party house.
It was a party. We managed to have a good time. We had no money, so we used to have Benylin cough syrup parties and just drink cough syrup and jump around and listen to music and you know, had a great time. It was amazing.
Talk about us, telling lies. Well, that's no surprise. Can you see them? See right through them. They have a shield, no secrets to reveal. Doesn't matter what they say. The jealous games people play. My lips are sealed. There's a weapon we must use in our defense. Silence. When you look at them, look right through them. That's when they disappear. That's when we'll be paired. It doesn't matter what they say. The jealous games people play. Our lips are sealed. Pay no mind to what they say. To see it. Hush, my darling, don't you cry. Quiet angel, forget their lies. Can you hear them? They talk about telling lies. Well, that's no surprise. Can you see them? See right through them. They have a shield, no secrets to reveal. It doesn't matter what they say. The jealous games people play. Our lips are sealed. Ain't no mind to what they say. Doesn't matter anyway. lips to see it. Our lips to see it. Our lips to see it.
That time was, you know, for us, these 5 little girls from LA opening up for Madness and the Specials, and at that time the audience was pretty hardcore. You know, we had the whole National Front thing going on, and there's a lot of fights, a lot of blood. We used to get spit at, you know, gobbed on during our shows, and I'd be covered with snot and screaming and crying, and you know, apparently that meant that they liked you, but you know, who knows?
That's
But
what they say.
it was difficult.
Was it a blast being in a bad girl band like the Go-Go's? I mean, you talked a little bit about being in the house and, you know, partying. It must have been fantastic.
It was great. You know, it was, everybody says, oh, it's about the sex and the drugs. Well, first of all, it wasn't about the sex, because we all had boyfriends. And the drugs came into it, but we were more about making mischief and causing trouble. And that was what we were really good at that, and we had a blast.
Dare I ask what sort of trouble you guys used to get into?
I mean, games with Polaroids and things like that.
Are any of them still in existence, Belinda?
I hope not. I think I might have a few actually in my cardboard boxes somewhere in the basement, but we would do all sorts of really naughty pranks on people, and that was mostly what we were about. I mean, the drugs did come into it later, but we had a really good time, really good time.
Did it end amicably?
No. No, the first time around it didn't. There were the classic sort of stereotypical issues, publishing, ego, drugs, and then being really overworked. We were on the road for a year straight, so we were overworked teenagers. I think, I think if it wasn't for probably the drugs, you may have lasted a couple more years, but that kind of ripped everything apart, really. That was the main cause of the breakup of that band.
And drugs tend to do that to a band, don't they?
Yeah, yeah.
And are you in touch with any of the other Go-Go's now?
We work together a couple times a year, and it's funny because the Go-Go's are probably bigger than they ever were. I think it's a really good, you know, I have to say, if I must say so myself, I think that the Go-Go's are really good live, and we've never taken ourselves seriously. And in America, it's more of an iconic thing. The Go-Go's transcend the music. So we can work as little or as much as we want, and it still is a blast. And I'd like to think that we communicate better now, and we know how to push each other's buttons still, but you know, that's what makes, you know, we're a big dysfunctional family. It's very dysfunctional, but it works. It works.
So when you left the Go-Go's and started your solo career, you must have felt huge pressure for it to work, given that the Go-Go's were such a monumental success?
I didn't really think about it until after I finished my album, and because that's kind of my nature, is to jump into things before thinking. And I think I really got scared the first time I actually had to go out on stage on my own without my security blanket, and that was pretty scary. I don't think I really felt pressure with the first album because I didn't really have any expectations.
Did you change your image at all? Was it a conscious, right, okay, with the Go-Go's, that's been done now, now I've got to become this new person, you know, like a, you know, butterfly from a chrysalis? Well,
I think what happened is after I left the Go-Go's, I kind of cleaned up my act, and I lost weight, and I just sort of transformed from being a cute, chubby girl to a young woman, and there were some physical changes, and that was the beginning of video, and it became much more about the image after a certain point. I think during Heaven is when that started. We thought more about image than anything else, and that's when I got kind of uncomfortable with things at that point, but that's just the way it is. I mean, especially these days.
What song do you think, out of your whole back catalogue, you'd like to be remembered for the most?
It's probably, the song that's probably going to be with me forever, which it is a great song, is Heaven. So I think that song really made it a lot of things possible for me. It gave me my success on this side of the planet, and it's a song that's dear to my heart.
I remember that Heaven is a Place on Earth video being on MTV rotation. I see you dancing in the corner, even now.
Yeah.
I can remember it like it was yesterday.